as we welcome South Dakota State back to the schedule. It's been a while since we've been able to talk about the Jacks here in Terre Haute, be able to make that trip to Dykhouse Stadium. It's a brand new stadium. It'll be the first time Indiana State gets to play in this facility. The voice of the Jackrabbits since 2009 has been Tyler Merriam, and he joins us now to talk about this Jackrabbit team. And I'm sure a guy who called a school record 11 wins for the Jacks last year, I think Tyler Merriam's ready for football this year. Am I right, Tyler?
Well, it'll be fun. It's certainly been a tremendous ride for this football program. 6 straight FCS playoff appearances, and as you alluded to, a school record for wins. And coming off a semifinal trip last year, there's a lot of excitement about trying to build upon that here in 2018.
You mentioned that excitement building. And there's always been, I think, an expectation that South Dakota State could obviously be good at football because you're in a region that really worships that sport during the fall months. When was the time where you felt that South Dakota State was really starting to get on an uptick and being able to have this stretch of, like you mentioned, 6 straight years? You're one of 4 programs that can say that at the FCS level that have been able to make it the past 6 years.
Well, early in the transition, the Jacks just missed the playoffs in 2008, went to the playoffs in 2009, and obviously a much different format, smaller number of teams, etc., and then missed out the next couple of years. But really starting in 2012, obviously, is when this run has occurred. And as the run has occurred, they've been good teams, but up until the last couple of years, never maybe to that next level. And I think with the new stadium opening up, with the Sanford Jackrabbit Athletic Complex, our indoor practice facility, with the facilities growing, the ability to make legitimate bids to garner home games in the postseason, to be a top 8 seed. It's really been the last 2 years the program has gone from a good program that was kind of just trying to get to that next level to a top 8 seed, and obviously the situation like last year where you go all the way to the semifinals.
You brought up Dykhouse Stadium and Dana J. Dykhouse, who it was named after. Just what is a game day like in that new stadium? And for us, we've only been able to watch it from afar. We've yet to be there in person. We will see it this fall. But how much of yes, no doubt, a lot of it is because you guys have such a great football product now. Mm-hmm. That's a big reason why you have it. But how much has that really helped the football program and more just build excitement in that area to be able to get out on a Saturday afternoon and evening to watch some Jacks football?
Well, a combination of things. Obviously, you have to have a good football program, and the Jacks have had that the last few years. That certainly helps getting people in. But yes, the excitement of the new building, the fact that previously it was basically one grandstand. That's what you had. You had some temporary bleachers on the other side and whatnot, but it was essentially one concrete grandstand on one side. And you didn't have the simple amenities. You didn't have elevators. You didn't have handrails unless you were on one of the 2 ends. I mean, there are all those little things, so many more concessions. And so from a fan experience, there's a lot of different levels. There obviously are folks who are in suites, but there's folks who are on the loge level who are not to that top level but still want a little nicer experience. There's a lot of different things that can be had here. And so the ability to do all that, and for some additional fans to witness games and not be outside because, of course, we are, as you mentioned, in the Midwest climate. In October and November, we can deal with some wintry weather, and there are some options for them to be able to experience that as well. So that's helped get some different clientele into the stadium. But then again, the success, the excitement of the new facility, building upon everything, having the individual talents like the Dallas Goederts, the Jake Winicke's, who both are in the NFL right now, the Taryn Christians, who's back for his senior year at quarterback. All those things have combined to really build a top-notch FCS program, and the fans have responded to that, and the attendance continues to grow.
Tyler, this may be the wrong word to use when I pose this question, but you brought up obviously those big names that are now in the NFL, and a Goddard and a Winicke. Is there much concern losing so much production from those 2 guys coming back, even though you have such a big piece in Christian returning?
Well, I think certainly there is to some extent. And let's throw in Jekyll Onosorgi in that category, too. You know, Onosorgi was the Remington Award winner for the best center in the nation. And those 3 guys, I think Onosorgi gets forgotten about because he's not a position or skill position player. He's not a guy in the NFL. But Onosorgi was a 4-year starter at center and a huge cog in the success. Losing those 3, and there were other guys, too. We're just talking about those at the beginning here. But, Luke, you talk about those 3. There's some concern, and there should be. But by the same same token, a few years back when we were talking about the history before we started this, the Jacks lost their all-time passer, their second all-time rusher, and one of the top 10 receivers in school history all at the same time 4 years ago. And there was a huge level of concern at that point. Boy, they've made a couple of playoff runs. Now you're losing these guys. How do you pick it up moving forward? How do you build upon that? And what happened was, instead of having that one star, it was much more of a collaborative effort. And we've seen 3 and 4 different guys at tailback rather than the one, Zach Zenner, who is still with the Detroit Lions. So that's probably how they will try to make do with this, is do a little more of a spread out offense as far as the people involved. They already spread things out personnel wise, but when it comes to how the ball gets distributed, it'll be a little more spread out. You won't have 1 or 2 guys that'll be focused on as much. But there's no question, when you lose talents of that caliber, there's reason to be a little concerned if you're a fan, because that's a lot of talent that walked out the door.
Offensively, so much optimism, and you mentioned those pieces. Even though there are some that are leaving, there's of course a lot coming back. Let's switch it. Go defensive side of the ball for us. No doubt last year South Dakota State was really kind of right in the middle when you look at the stats defensively and where they ranked the rest of the league. Obviously with Rosaboom coming back, a big key keg there at the linebacker spot. What's the outlook defensively for this club?
Well, you mentioned Rosaboom. The Jacks have had a pretty good run at linebacker, and Rosaboom's one of the better ones. Obviously, he's earned a lot of accolades already, and he still has some time here in yellow and blue. He's got 2 more years. He's a big factor. The biggest issue probably for this defense is over the last 2 years, they've lost 3 pretty solid defensive tackles. And the one area they have struggled in over the last 7 or 8 years, they've never really had that dominant pass rusher. Danny Batten in 2009 had a heck of a year, leading the Jacks to their first FCS playoff appearance, then spent a couple of years with the Buffalo Bills. Since Batten's graduation, they haven't really had that dominant off-the-edge pass rusher. They've been able to have a lot of success even without that, but that's an area of concern. They've got a couple of guys in, including a true sophomore who was a Parade High School All-American named Daniel Callender out of Arizona, who they have some high hopes for. If they can put together a legitimate pass rush, it's going to make them that much better. But the front 4 is going to be the key. They need to have some guys step up in that front 4, because they have a lot of guys back in the secondary and certainly at linebacker, and they feel good about where they're at with them. So really, if they can find a couple of guys on that front line to solidify themselves into very talented individuals, which they think they have the potential for, then all of a sudden there's a reason to believe they can go back to the playoffs.
Tyler Merriam, the voice of the South Dakota State Jackrabbits, join us. Tyler, before I let you go, the only bone I got to pick with you is that you did not have a say in the scheduling of making sure Indiana State would be the Beef Bowl this year. I was hoping my first trip to South Dakota State would be in the Beef Bowl. I'm a little disappointed, but I guess I'll let it slide.
Now, who's to say I didn't have a say in it and just chose not to have you be the Beef Bowl opponent? You didn't clarify this.
That is true. I got to tell you, I don't know you very well, but I'm starting to find out more about you. And you know what? I like every part of it.
Well, I wish I could say the same, but no,
it's
I
okay.
can't. In all seriousness, we were talking before we came on, Shakir Bell a few years back in the Beef Bowl had a heck of a game, and the Beef Bowl is something special. We have some unique traditions here at SDSU between the Beef Bowl for football, the Port Classic for basketball. There are some unique just different types of things we put on here, but the folks around here get a big kick out of it, and we're excited to have you back on the schedule and to have the Sycamores here in Brookings this fall.